Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Bondi Snapshot. Today we are joined by the wonderful auctioneer Clarence White. Good morning, Clarence, and thank you so much for joining us here at the North Bondi Surf Club.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Clarence, you're one of the top auctioneers in Australia. What would you say were your top tips for buyers at an auction?
Having conversations with your partner or whoever the other stakeholders the day before, being prepared, is really important. I think buyers carry a little bit of fear about being caught in the moment in an auction, having to make a decision quickly. So to me, the antidote for that is preparation. Have conversations beforehand with your partner. What will we do if the bidding gets to this? What will we do if the bidding gets to this? Know what you'd like to spend and know what you're willing to spend.
So having two figures in a way?
Yeah, I think so.
And it's very important, of course, that the buyers do interact with the agent beforehand to get those ideas of where actually the auction is looking like it's going to go.
I think a lot of buyers approach auctions with an oppositional idea, and I think that's a mistake because you need to understand that the agents are there to help you buy the property. The vendor wants to sell the property. So the indications that we're giving in terms of, price levels and where things need to be in order to get it sold, that's really valuable information for you in terms of understanding where you need to be in order to purchase the home.
So if there's a few bidders around, what should you do? Everyone talks about game plan strategies on auction day. Is it really complicated or should it be really quite simple?
The strategy that I have seen that has been most successful, and it's the same strategy that buyers agents, professional advocates that work on behalf of buyers, is that they usually open the bidding, they bid confidently, they bid in strong increments, they bid with no hesitation, they try and look like they've got more money than God.
That's it.
And the way that this saves you money is that at the back end of the auction, when you get to that critical point and your competition's like, stressed, I don't know if I'm going to make another bid, what's going through their brain is, no matter what I do, he's just going to bid again, because you've demonstrated that throughout the auction.
Now, on the other flip side of that, in a changing market, we sometimes go into auctions these days with just one bidder. Talk us through that scenario.
I think a mistake that some people make when they find themselves to be the only bidder on day is suddenly think, oh, great, this is an opportunity to start playing games, change the estimations, I'm going to try and buy a bargain right now. Because if the agents are any good, they're not going to let you buy a bargain. There's a minimum limit at which, the owners are going to sell it. But it is a great opportunity because you're likely to find out what the minimum level at which the owners are willing to sell it are. And you do have the potential to cut out parties, and particularly in the current market,
finance,
where finance is so tight, some parties want to buy the home, they may have a higher budget than you, but may not be able to register and bid on auction day.
There's the other side of the coin, and vendors come into the auction obviously petrified a lot of the time. It can be a bit of a stressful time. How do you help the vendors to actually get through that situation?
Irrespective of expectations and of indications, my job is always to get the highest price possible for the home. The stressful decisions are when the bidding doesn't reach your expectations, and that's when it's good to have it pre-framed, I guess, for yourself.
And talk us through the other thing, of course, is the vendor bid.
You would use a vendor bid one of a couple of ways. Sometimes, and particularly in the current market, people are tentative, they're reluctant to start. Obviously, we would prefer to take a bid from the floor, but if nobody's willing to put their hand up, then we simply use a vendor bid to start the bidding to kick it away. Second potential way to use a vendor bid might be to set a baseline mark. For example, if the bidding doesn't reach an acceptable level, that's nowhere near the reserve price or nowhere near an acceptable price, then you might use a vendor bid simply to indicate to the market that this is a level at which you need to be above in order to be considered today.
What do you need to be prepared in order to bid at auction?
Obviously, finance is first and foremost at the moment. If you are requiring finance to purchase, you need to make sure that that is in place so that there's no questions around budget. You need to bring with you some means to pay a deposit on the day. You need to be aware whether you're bidding on your own behalf or whether you're bidding on behalf of somebody else. That's an important consideration. There's a form that you need to fill out. It's called a bidding authority form, which of course I can get from the agent.
And the other thing is, I guess, if you're a little bit scared of auction, you can actually ask a friend to bid on your behalf or somebody who has more confidence in auction, can't you? As long as they bring ID to the auction itself.
Yes. So that's the other thing that you need to make sure you've got, a driver's licence or some kind of photo ID, and we just take note of that for our compliance, for our file.
And in order to bid, you actually do have to have, make sure that you've had the contract looked at, and if there are any changes to the contract, they have to be agreed beforehand. Is that correct?
If you want changes to the contract, you need to communicate via your solicitor with the vendor's solicitor prior to the auction day.
So Clarence, obviously, look, auctions can be a bit daunting, but what do you reckon? People should just come along and have a look at an auction, shouldn't they?
Well, the fastest way to get comfortable is to experience it. There's lots of stuff on YouTube. I certainly have a lot of my material on YouTube. Obviously, a lot of agents place their stuff on YouTube, but there's plenty going on every Saturday. So
Yeah.
come along, check it out, see what happens. That'll help you get comfortable.
Excellent. So I guess, yeah, they should just have a look at the PPD website, because we've always got a few auctions on a Saturday, and come along and check you out in action.
Definitely.
Thanks so much for joining us, Clarence.
It's a pleasure.